motion for today is this House believes that developing nations with ethnically diverse population should prohibit vernacular schools.
Malaysia is a peace country from more than 62 years ago, and we from the government, with multicultural, we from the government side want to keep it as long as possible till the end of the day. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before starting the debate today, I will just first briefly talk about the role. First, me as the Prime Minister will first give the definition of today's debate and set where this debate is going around. And next, I will give my our first argument from the government side. Standing after me is the Deputy of Prime Minister that will give his two arguments regarding how by we prohibit the vernacular school can prevent racial tension, and second is how they can distribute of population in work industry better in the future. And the last speaker is last from the side government. The whip speaker will rebut all the points that given by the opposition side, and will strengthen and will also compare and tell the hall who is winning this debate. Moving on to my to the first row, which is the definition. We from the government side, we want to define the word developing country, which is country which is still in developing part now and not long time ago. So we will smaller scope to our country, Malaysia. Next word that we will characterize is prohibit, which we will totally ban the vernacular school in Malaysia, which will actually be better for us for our future, to the ethnics and to the Malays as well. The burden that we will charge to the side of the nation is they need to prove to us that by making this vernacular school is better for students and better for ethnics, for the future in terms of communication and ethnic relation, as well as it can maintain the peaceful in this beautiful country. Because we all know that by making this vernacular school, what they want to prioritize is just the language, their mother tongue language. So they need to prove to us that. The second burden of proof that they need to prove to us that by it is so hard for us to make a new law or syllabus for teaching and learning by we banning the vernacular school. Moving on to my first argument. First argument from the government side is by we banning the vernacular school, we can provide better future for ethnics in terms of education. There goes one saying, says that Malay is lazy. This saying is indeed true, because otherwise, why would this person say that? So we can agree that statistically, Malay is lazier than the ethnics. We can say that we give one example that even wait, I'm sorry. We cannot deny that ethnics is sometimes or most of the time is better than the Malay itself. So we can say that by making vernacular system, we are actually collecting the people that is very high in spirit in one place. So we are suggesting that why would not we just mix them up in by we banning the vernacular school. So they will strive together and they will be better for them for the future, where they can communicate better with other ethnics, and will work together better for the future. For example, Chinese will teach Malay physics, Indian will teach Malay about biology, and Malay will teach Indian and Chinese about the Bahasa Malaysia, which we all know that in our country, Bahasa Malaysia is the most important language, where it's an obligation for all of us to pass. We can say that many ethnic students, where they're not qualified to in some work industry, it's just because of their result, where they didn't pass their bahasa. Yeah, but before that, please.
You see that by putting them in, by putting the vernacular schools, by putting the kids into one place, they can learn each other's culture and everything. And mainly you said that they can learn Bahasa Malaysia, therefore, because Bahasa Malaysia is important as it's a national language, right? But without prohibiting, as you can see now in the tertiary school, the current school, that we all are still learning Bahasa Malaysia, regardless of if it's vernacular or not.
What you say is right, but we're still learning. But what we suggest that if we collect them, we can say that all the ethnics will work together better. They will be produce even higher marks, or they will score in their exams. So we will suggest that by banning vernacular school is the best choice for us to do right now. With all that, I raise my case.
Thank you.
So okay, I'm going to start my speech by talking about the rebuttals. The first rebuttal. So basically, the Prime Minister actually defined each word very precisely, and the words that caught my eye that you said about prohibit is totally banned. So you are saying that as the government is going to limit all the choices that the other people culture to go to the school that they want. That you are actually limiting everything, that you are not allowing every single one of them, every single Chinese Indian to actually go to school that they really want. So basically you are limiting the choices that you have, that you are basically not giving their rights to choose anything they want. And then you also talk about the argument that you talk about better future for ethnics in education. Excuse me, sir, but why do we need to start from education when there are many aspects that we can start from? Sure, we are talking about school here, but I'm still wondering why we need to start from school when there are many other aspects that we can learn. Maybe we can start from media, or maybe we can start, maybe sure, the government really want to start from the education basis. So what? We need to change the textbook, or maybe we need to add one more subject that actually teach about cultural things, maybe cultural things, something like that. And also, also the Prime Minister talk about teach Bahasa Malaysia, like you can teach other people, like teach Bahasa Malaysia, something like that. So apparently in vernacular school you are compulsory to take Bahasa Malaysia, as it is one of the compulsory subject in SPM that you need to pass, or you will not get any certification. So sir, the moment you say that if in one school you can learn it, but in vernacular school you are still allowed to do it. So basically you are saying that you are forgetting the important part, that the fact that vernacular school also teach Bahasa Malaysian, although they will not get the certification. Sure.
So you are saying that yes, you said that Bahasa Melayu is a compulsory subject in Malaysia, but then why the stats shows that the Chinese and Indians still get low marks on their exams, and they still couldn't score, and they didn't manage to get into IPTA like they always want to.
First of all, you kind of forgot the fact that our IPTA have a quota, the fact that 90% are Malays. the Indian and Chinese are 10%, so they basically need to go to other private sector. And secondly, for you that say it's compulsory, you say that about law marks or something like that. Maybe the school that the Vernacular school does not teach really well. I'm not sure, but it is not the main problem here. The main problem is like you are like limiting all other people's choices. So I'm going to start my first argument, which is like everyone have their own choices. So basically, all the people from different culture, they have the right to choose, they have the right to pick whatever the school they want that they feel comfortable about. Maybe, for example, if Malays want to go to the Chinese school, sure, go ahead. If the Chinese want to go to the Malay school, sure, go ahead. Go ahead. Maybe they feel comfortable. Maybe through going to other schools, they can learn new language, or maybe like learn new culture, or maybe like the Chinese are more adapt to the Malay culture, or the Chinese and Indian are adapt to other people's culture. So it's like basically a balance between culture, but that can actually decrease the racial tension because they know what they are talking about. And also, the government side doesn't have the right to actually take their rights, these children right, to actually pick whatever school they want because they just want to go to school. They just want to teach, they just want to study, they just want to create new memories, they just want to learn something new basically because it's school. It's not like the place where you are going to, it's not a place where teachers like teaching you about racism, like especially Vernacular school is not going to teach about racism at all. They're just going to teach about that's important for the culture. That's all. They are not talking about, the teacher basically not going to teach about, okay, you as a Chinese need to be racist to Malays. No, that's not the main point here. So basically, they say, we are saying that doesn't matter what kind of school they go, racial still exists, but it's not from the school that they went to, but probably it's like their family or upbringing, the society they live in that are being racist, but it's not from school. School is not the place that you learn about racism, not at all. And then, so basically I'm just going to say that everyone have their own choices. No matter what kind of, what ethnics are you from, but you have your own choices to pick. Whatever you want, what do you want to be? It's okay for you to choose any school that you want as long as you feel comfortable, as long as you want it. It's not being forced, it's not being prohibited. For the government side, they have basically prohibited the Vernacular school, so everyone has to go to this one school where they have to sit at one class. Maybe maybe you say like it's unity between them. No, maybe it will cause more racial tension because they will not understand each other pretty well because there was like maybe the Chinese will not understand why do Malay need to do this because there is like no communication because they don't understand each other. So being in the same school does not mean anything. It's just like Vernacular school just help it get better. Or maybe in racial tension it's not going to do anything at all. So basically the Prime Minister only gave 1 point and he actually wasted 1 minute for introducing everybody. So I don't have really anything to say about. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Sure. I now invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
So the British introduced the Vernacular school that in Malaysia to keep away the unity from Malaysians to unite and to prevent them from freedom in Malaysia. That is what we learn in our history textbook, like in Form 5. So, this house believes that developing nations with an ethnically diverse population should prohibit vernacular schools. So, I am from the government side. We believe that this should be done. So, first, my first work is rebuttals. So, the first point from the opposition leader is they have the right to choose. But then we still need to do certain things that is right for our citizen. So things like maybe we prohibit vernacular schools, it will actually to prevent racial tensions among people and it will increase the distribution of population in work industry in Malaysia. So that would be my point for today. So my rebuttals for the opposition leader is actually my points for today. So first, to prevent racial tensions among people. So recently, we heard about the Adib case, the murder of Adib, when he is actually involved because he is actually a fireman, and he was murdered, and we still didn't discover who killed him. So it was actually caused by a demonstration of the Indians, and the case is still unsolved until today. So actually, to prevent racial tensions among people is we educate them since they were in school. So we students and we people, we are actually influenced on how we are raised. So it will actually shows on how you act today. So if we prohibit vernacular schools, it will actually unite all of Malaysians, and it will avoid the destruction of unity on Malaysia. So as an example, statistics shows that racism in Malaysia starts to develop when they are in high school. So they start the culture of they just want to be friends with Chinese, they just want to be friends with Indians instead of being friends with all culture. So this actually will prevent disgrace among religions, which is also a case, which is also a lot of cases that happening today that many people are getting arrested because they disgrace other religion. So in avoiding that, we need to prohibit vernacular schools where they are teach on how to respect each other, they are teach on morals, and they are teach on common sense on being a good people in a country. So as an example, as you can see, if you know that SMK Jalan Reko and is a SMK school, but then in that school they have a lot of Indians and they have a lot of Malays. But statistics shows and news in 2014, the news blown in 2014, it shows that a cultural fight between two races, and it caused 2 deaths. You see, 2 deaths in that case. So this is actually to prevent the racial tensions among people, that we believe is the slightest things that we can do in outside. So second, the distribution of population in work industry. So we believe that the distribution of population in work industry is unbalanced in our country. The Chinese are manipulating the economics of our country, while the Malaysians are on low economic standards. But then we can improve that by being united, and we still can develop our country together. So the understanding among races will create a big opportunity of developing country, such as the Mission 2020. Tun Mahathir focused on 2020 for Malaysia because he believed that maybe on 2020 the Malaysians will unite and they will together build a better country. Yes.
How can you guarantee by putting all of the students from many races such as ethics, the community and everything, can guarantee a fair distribution into the workforce in Malaysia, and therefore balance out the economy between races?
Okay, thank you. Okay, I didn't get to the point yet, so listen. So this actually, this is because our mission for 2020 failed because we were too busy focusing on unsolved problems such as racial issues. So being united together as a community, 3 races in a workforce, so maybe it will achieve more than we can expect in 2020. But now, so since we are focusing on 2050 right now, so we are going to unite our community, and we are trying the best for 2050. So let's get back to the history. of our forefathers, Tun Abdul Razak, Tan Chelok, and VT Sambatan, they were together on building our nation. So I believe that this is not impossible for us to build a better community again using the same way as they did.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Now invite the deputy leader of opposition.
Here, here.
Here, here. I will just
Thank you, bro. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what the two speakers from the government has talked about was, by mixing all the races in one school, it will be better for our future because they can work together better, and that will lead to fair distribution in workplace settings. This is very counterintuitive on the government side. How is the government sure that mixing all of the races together in one school, these students will mix together and improve each other? Because you see, these students, when you mix everyone in a place, you can ensure that these students won't create their own groups based on their ethnic background and etc. Therefore, what I'm saying is that even in the government world or the opposition world, racism could still exist, and by prohibiting the presence of vernacular school, it will not put an end to the racism issue. Secondly, about Bahasa Malaysia. The government talked about that it is a requirement. No, thank you. I'll take you at the 6 minutes. They talked about that it is a requirement for everyone to speak good Bahasa Malaysia, etc. If the government is so concerned about the quality of Bahasa Malaysia spoken by these ethnic people, why don't they do something about it? Why do you want to ban the vernacular school as a whole? Is there no any other way? Is there no any less drastic way that you could improve the capabilities of these ethnic students to speak good Malay language? You talk about maintaining peace and etc., but the method that you are taking right now are going to cause more racial tensions that I will explain more in my substantive. The burden that I have to prove today is that by having vernacular school, it does not lead to racism. First and foremost, school is a place to study, and it's not a place where you learn about social issues, racial issues, and etc. No matter where or when, racism can still happen. Racism is caused by your upbringing. It's not caused by the education that you got from a certain school. And what I'm trying to prove here is that what the government is trying to do is they want to prohibit vernacular school as a whole to ensure that they could put a stop to the racism issue, where it is proven that it is not effective in doing that. In the government world, even if they put all the ethnics in one school, racism could still happen, where the students separate themselves into their own ethnic background and etc., and only stick to that group. So the proposed method of the government for everyone to mix together as a student, as a whole, as a Malaysian, will not succeed. Banning of vernacular school is a drastic action, and it will lead to social tensions between races. Even if the government truly want to put an end to this racism issue, I question once again, why the drastic action? Why is there no better ways to put a stop to this racism issue? There are more or less drastic ways that are more effective than banning the vernacular school as a whole. For example, exposure to different cultural values through mass media should give enough exposure about each cultural values of each ethnics that we have in Malaysia. My question to the government side is that why do you opt for such a drastic way where you know the banning of vernacular school will lead to more racial tensions between the ethnics, because you are literally removing the citizens' choice to choose the type of education that they want. So what I'm proposing on the opposition side is that the government's idea of prohibiting vernacular school will not meet their outcome of putting this racism issue to an end. Furthermore, it is very, very hypocritical for the government to say that, oh, we're here for peace. We're going to ban, we're going to prohibit vernacular school for the sake of peace of all the ethnics in Malaysia. But as I've said in my substantive, is that this will lead to more racial tensions between the ethnics, and I will explain why. First and foremost, you are removing all these students from their vernacular school and combining them to a mixed school where all the races are there together and etc. What you don't realize is that when you do that, you mix everyone together in a school, but these are still the same students. These are still the same students that went to vernacular school, where they might have had their own friends, their own groups and etc. Therefore, no thank you. Therefore, your mechanism to achieve peace and etc. could not be done in the government world. And by that, I rest my speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that today we have heard enough from both sides. So we don't have to add any more points, I think basically from me. The first thing is, I would like to say about the opposition side, who thinks that mixing or what we call putting all the races in one school would create a better, or what we call a catastrophic racial tension in our country. Let me just quote this. Dong Zong recently said that SK, or I would say it as Sekolah Kebangsaan, has more potential of following this Jawi new law rather than the SJKC and also SJKT, which means they are not coming to one understanding here. If you put all the races in one school, for example, if you put Chinese and Indians and Malays in one school, therefore we could create a better system for us to implement Bahasa Malaysia as a whole, especially if we want to create a 6-page of Jawi syllabus in the Bahasa Malaysia syllabus itself. Secondly, the leader of the opposition said that it would limit the race, each and every races to go to the designated school or their school that they choose, that they basically have preferences about. What I really think is you cannot simply put this school matter into whether or not you like to go to that school or it is your choice or your parents' choice, because I'm not going to quote any other developing countries. Let's just quote America, because America is a well-known country for their system. Harvard, Yale, Columbia, thank you. Columbia, and many more other universities. I would not like to bring up any high schools there. We can see that the system there has no segregation at all. They don't implement vernacular systems at all. What are we aiming at this end? At the end of this debate is to reach a better society, a better country. Therefore, we should really prohibit this vernacular school as a whole. Secondly, I would like to say that there is no, alright. Alright, basically they say that why shouldn't we add a new culture syllabus into the current syllabus itself? For example, if they say that there is no, if we prohibit this vernacular school, it would prevent them from learning their own culture or anything. What if they paint a picture about the current system that has all the cultures syllabus? For instance, in SK, we learn Mandarin and Bahasa India and many more other culture or languages itself. Why don't we do that? Why don't we add culture syllabus into the school right now? I think it is not necessary at all, because even our mother tongue, actually our national language, which is Bahasa Malaysia, isn't at a very good level itself right now. So why do we want to learn Mandarin, Indian, what you call Arabic or Kadazan as an additional language to all what they are going to say in their incentives to prevent us from prohibiting this vernacular school system? I would say that basically before this recent election, we can see that there are not many people who have been appointed as ministers from other races. For example, if you can see that 5% of the ministers in the cabinet for 60 years have not been appointed from other races. When the new party took over the office in 9th of May, I think, supposedly last year, 9th of May, then we can see a very, generous probability in generous jobs prospect in our government right now. As you can see that we have YB Yeo Bee Ying as the Minister of Environment. We can see that the Deputy Minister of the Youth and Sports is also a Chinese. Do we see that before this? Do we ever look up to the sky and say that, wow, this is a whole Malaysia? This is not just a Malay country, this is a whole Malaysia. So you say that if we put them in one school, they cannot create a better environment, they would create a more racial tension among them. I think that is just ridiculous. Because if they are not educated from school itself, how could they possibly work together during their upcoming days in the future? Basically, I have nothing left to say. I think that they are trying to paint a picture where segregating cultures and races are better than just putting them all in one school. Basically, I think that this is not the very best initiatives for us, and I think that is all I'm going to say as I propose this motion. Thank you.
I invite
It is sad to see that the side of government, especially from the first speaker, stated that they agree with sentiment that Melayu is malas. This is one of the reasons why the current status quo, that we can see that the three main races are breaking apart in terms of bonding with the unity between them. You see, the Prime Minister said that, and in fact agree with the statement of Melayu is malas. Therefore, they want to disregard the Malay people as a whole, and instead of that, putting the whole holistic, other ethnic students from the background of ethnics into the school as a one. You see, instead of this is kind of ironic, because as you can see, with the point of the government, they try to propose that by prohibiting, they would impose a more bonded and united races between three main races in Malaysia. But then again, it is ironic again that they agree to the sentiment that would disregard other races such as Malay people, which is the Bumi Putra in Malaysia. So that is one rebuttal from the first speaker. And then the second speaker, there's more of that. Okay, and then they said that they would provide a better education for the ethnics. You see, the thing is that if they really want to provide a better education for the ethnics, they can actually not ban vernacular schools in a whole. They can actually focus on to the sector of the development of the ethnic people, whereby with that method and mechanism, they could actually create a new and better solutions for the ethnic people to be developed and more sufficient in their people to be more educated in their hometown. Okay, before that, please.
the government has been doing it since 6 years ago, 62 years ago. So what are the progress? The focus on 2020 is still not we fail to accomplish. Then
You see, okay. You see, the thing is that they want to ban the whole. They want to ban the whole Vernacular school by disregarding the Malay people. They in fact agree to the fact that the sentiment of Malay is lazy. So therefore, don't you see the hypocritical from the government side saying that they want to actually focuses on bonding and uniting and actually creating a better and educated ethnic people. But actually by doing so, they are disregarding other races as well, which is in this case the Bumiputra, the Malay people. Okay, so with this, if they want to actually provide a better education for the ethnics, they can create another new sector that will solely focusing on the development of the ethnic people in the rural area. Okay, next moving on to the second rebuttal from the second speaker is that the second speaker started with British founded the Vernacular schools, therefore with the intention to divide the people in Tanah Melayu back then. You see, the thing is that was in the past, but then in this nowadays you can see that Vernacular school is still implemented. Why? The reason why the Vernacular school is still implemented until today, because the government today see the effectiveness of Vernacular schools, that it doesn't actually affect any racism issue in Malaysia, with the reason of why as you can see that racism doesn't actually started from school, from like my first speaker said. It actually started from the upbringing, from the family or the friends that they have been friendly with, the thing that they watch or learn and something like that. School doesn't play any big important role in the racism issue. But for that, please.
Can you explain that school is where we focus a lot on our daily times? So
Okay.
we spend like 8 hours a day at school. So how can you say that we are not influenced by school?
You see, okay, here's the thing. With banning, prohibiting, or not banning or prohibiting at all, racism still happens, still could happen. The chances the chances of racism issue will still occur despite them banning or not. So the thing is with this, instead of them looking to the point of where banning as a sole solution to actually abolish this racism issue, they are wrong in this case. In fact, they will actually take out the rights of the people in Malaysia, which the students, to actually choose which school that they are comfortable studying in. So this is important part that is stated by the first speaker, by the first speaker from the opposition team, which by giving the people the right to choose whichever the study place that they want to go for. So, okay, listen to the government side. You guys need to understand that in Malaysia, we are practicing democracy. With this democracy, people get to choose. People's voice get to be heard. So therefore, by you people banning it, you guys are basically taking away the rights of them to choose. By saying so, we tell you that the government decision actually take away the rights of people to choose. Just because they just want to reduce racism phenomenon in Malaysia. This is totally barbaric, because as you can see, regardless of them banning or not, racism could still happen. And moving on, and that is my rebuttal from the second point. Moving on to the third speaker's point is that he mentioned about the Dongjong issue, about the Jawi issue that is issued by the Dongjong persona. Dongzong, is it? Yeah. Dongzong, so sorry, Dongzong. Okay, Dongzong persona. Okay, so the thing is with this Jawi issue, if you guys can see, they want to actually take out the Jawi thing or learning syllabus from the HLKT and SJCC, because they thought that they would have no effects or whatsoever and benefits by learning them. You see, the thing is with this, this Dongjong issue would happen regardless if you ban or not ban the vernacular schools. Okay, the thing that the government failed to see is that they failed to suggest the better alternative or mechanisms to actually provide why we should prohibit vernacular schools. Is it really for racism, to abolish racism? No, it is not. They failed to do so. So therefore, in the side of the opposite side, we believe that we are voicing out to the voice of the people that actually care about bonding the races between Malay, ethnics, Indian and Chinese all together. So with that, I rest my case.
Thank you.